Massive cubic inches and a temperament fueled by funny fumes make for a most unusual competition as the full-body fleet strips away a little fiberglass to compete with the mega-power rear engine and roadster-appearing rails. The modifieds mount up the cut tires and launch a little loam in the Show Me State next. From the vast fields of the Show Me State, it's round 4 of the 2025 MRA Championship Series, coming at you from the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags at Booker Farms. Today, it's the modified class on the cut tires, and this is a multifaceted division. We're going to see the rear engine rails, couple of roadster-style rails also compete in this class quite often, but we'll also see some of the full-body machines from the Outlaw Pro Stock division shed a little skin. They're going to take off some of the fiberglass panels, and they're going to come over and see if they can compete with those rear engine rails. And make no mistake, we have seen the full-body machines not only get event wins, but take championships in this class. And a couple of stories coming into today's action include the points leader, Keith Mitchell. Now, he holds the 200-foot national record in this class, but he was almost unseated 2 weeks ago in Gore Springs, Mississippi by Robert Gallagher. Gallagher, however, failed to back up the national record time that he ran when on the second pass, he slammed into the guardrail at center track there at DT's Dirt Drags, but now he will have a shot at trying to do it again here in the open space of the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags. And here is a look at the points coming into today's action. You can see Keith Mitchell sitting up on top, followed by Justin George and Rick George, 2 of the 3 George Farms family members sitting 2 and 3 in points. Wayne Bonacker and Daniel Kerher rounding out the top 5. But keep in mind, Gallagher, who we just spoke about, is sitting just outside of that top 5. He would love to gain that position here today. Coming to the line right now, though, the points leader, the Keystone Killer, that's Keith Mitchell, the Magician legend in the class with a massive Sonny's power plant behind him, 960 cubic inches. Lined up next to Daniel Kerher in the Ford-powered Looking for Trouble out of Spalding, Nebraska. 632 cubic inches of Ford horsepower. Clearly problems for Kerr, but a great run for Keith Mitchell. We'll see what the time is. Not going to be a record pass, but a 2:39. Closing on that territory. He's in the realm of what he's going to need to run to try to get a win here today against the field that has shown up here to the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags. One more look at it. A lot of dust off that starting line. It is drying out in the heat of the day. It's very humid out here, but very little of that humidity stays in the dirt. When that water evaporates, the track will get very, very dry, but a beautiful pass for Mitchell to start things off. It's one he can definitely gather data from, and the Keystone Killer will use that to try to get even faster in session 2. Keith Mitchell, 2-3. Car seems happier today than it was last night.
Yeah, no, it made a nice pass. A little loose off the starting line, but once you got a hold of it, broke 100 miles an hour. So it was we come out the big end on a good note, but we get it off the line a little bit harder next time. Hopefully we can better our time. But some other guys are struggling, and they're back there working on it. So the second round's going to be fun to watch, and it'll be a good one.
We heard him mention that loose starting line, and we'll see if they water that before the end of the day here. That starting line might get tackier before we get to session 2. Right now, a little crazy. That's Jason Chaya out of Weyauwega, Wisconsin, a former Outlaw Pro Stock Division champion. 788 cubic inch Bischoff Ford Hemi in that one, lined up next to another machine with the cubic inches in the mid-900s at Billy Albert Power Plant, 959 cubic inches of Billy Albert horsepower behind Justin George out of Franklin, Georgia. This machine won the 2023 Modified Paddle Division Championship with Rick George, who you see there getting Justin George set to go there on the starting line. Multi-generation team legends in this motorsport, and he purges the nitrous there in the far lane. We have 3 machines in this class with engines up in the mid 959 cubic inch range. But can you use the horsepower here today? That's the question. The tune is what matters. All the cubic inches in the world don't amount to nothing if you can't get it to stick to the dirt. Let's see what Justin George can do. It'll be our first look really at that left lane. Chaya had to pedal at about the 60-foot mark as he came over to the right-hand side of the track. Justin George moving to the right in his lane as well. A 253 with a 9 as he took the long way home. And Chaya with that pedal runs a 262 with a 5. Another look at it. Chaya's problems were evident. You watch again, though, a similar happening in that left-hand lane. You can see a little bit of up and down. The wheelie bar set good on Shoot to Thrill. But again, that loose starting line is playing havoc. They're going to have to find a way to get that vehicle to stick to the track. Now, Chaya's been having some control problems this year with Lil Crazy, and they have persisted. So we will see if this near side lane to us, which has deteriorated for all of the other classes this weekend, we will see if it holds together here for the modified cuts. Now as David French rolls out of Red House, West Virginia, in a Ford-powered bow tie machine. Of course, a Chevy Colorado with a 672 cubic inch VZ power plant. Big block Ford power with a Power Glide transmission and a 2-stage Induction Solutions nitrous setup. The driveline by Renegade Off-Road. The driver, the 2021 Super Stock Champ. Did that behind the wheel of a beautiful blue Ford that's also here this weekend. That's now driven by Kenneth Storm. Let's see, what does French have? Solid run. We'll see if it gets him past the number. I know it's not going to go past number 1, 268. Not going to get him past the number 3 spot. I don't believe. Daniel Carr, we know, is going to be sitting at the bottom of this first half of the field as we take a look at the leaderboard right now. There you see Keith Mitchell sitting in the number 1 spot with that 239, then a 253 for Justin George. He's capable of getting past Mitchell before the end of the night. Jason Chaya, David French, and then you see Daniel Carr with 64-second run, and never mind that 99 at the end. That doesn't mean anything because that's not a points viable time, but he'll figure it out. I've had some fuel issues with that machine, and if he can get it to stop loading up coming off the starting line, he might be trouble in the second session. Stay with us, the second half still to come. The MRA Championship Series is brought to you by Speed Tech, Speedwire Systems, Alki Digger, and George Grading and Hauling.
Hey, welcome to Wildman Adventures. First the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out of.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
Welcome back to the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags at Booker Farms in Cook Station, Missouri. Great people, by the way, the Booker family. If you ever get a chance to come out here for any of their events. Very hospitable, great food if you get to stay for the whole weekend as our next pair lines up here at the beginning of session 2. Fresh groom on the track. There's the man who beat Keith Mitchell's national record time but could not back it up. That's Robert Gallagher driving Jason Massey's Outcast. Massey and John Tomlin getting him set up over there on the left-hand side of the track. We know that machine is capable of getting around Keith Mitchell. And here is a machine that won the 2023 Outlaw Pro Stock Division Championship and the 2022 Pro Stock Division Championship. Jesse Brown's Loose Cannon being driven by Caleb Dunsavage out of Gladeville, Tennessee. Dunsavage normally drives the Color Me Gone rear engine rail in this class. Said he wanted another shot at a front engine machine. Brown wanted to get another set of eyes, ears, and another set of hands on the steering wheel on a couple problems he's been having. Wanted to see if Dunsavage could figure something out about this truck that Brown could not. This is a vehicle capable of winning in this division, but they're trying to get a tune on it right now, figure out what's been causing those wild rides he's been taking this season. And there you see Gallagher on the other side purging the nitrous, trying to get the atmosphere just right inside of that combustion chamber. It's very, very hot out here this afternoon. Could be robbing a horsepower. Let's see. Boy, once Gallagher got hooked up, he went, but he did not get the launch he was hoping for. A 260, a 261 with a 9 for Dunsavage as he left late. But watch again, Gallagher had a very interesting start. It looks like he blew the tires off. It dug down and then kind of hopped back up and spun on top of the loam. There you see Dunsavage picking up the front end. He just stayed after it and exited on the right-hand side of this right-hand lane. Watch again, Gallagher really a massive rooster tail as he did blow the tires off on the starting line. So the bite still not there. They may have to actually detune that engine to get a hold of the track. It may be that kind of day. As you can see the dust rising as they go into shutdown, an indication that it is very, very dry here on this hot evening. Here comes a former champion in the class, Wayne Bonacker, self-inflicted. Uncle Wayne out of the St. Louis, Missouri area. House Springs, Missouri, to be exact. 814 cubic inch Hemi power plant in the front of that one. It's a Sonny's power plant, partially designed by John Conkle. It's got a Chevy firing order. Again, the 2023 Modified Cut Class champion, the 2020 Pro Stock Class champion. Lines up next to the John Conkle S10, the 2000 S10 out of Davenport, Iowa. That's Chris Moses. And I always say where his curse, but he's been doing a little bit better here the last few times we've seen him, so hopefully we're not, knock on wood, causing this guy any problems when our cameras show up. Let's see what he has for Wayne Bonacker. Bonacker getting wild and shut down. He goes way off to the left-hand side, getting up near the bank there. Plenty of room to shut down. They'll drive it out, and Moses red-lit. Unfortunately, ran a 270. 251 for Wayne Bonacker. So a solid run for Bonacker, but again, wild coming out of the lane into shutdown. And he took some vicious rides last night, nearly flipping that machine twice in the OPS division. But as we watch it again, look at Moses just way up on those rear tires, unloading a bit though, and that causes you to lose traction. And that will hurt your time. But again, look at Bonacker way over there near the bank, and don't want to get near those telephone poles. But again, this is a good track. If you're going to have a problem, this is a good track to have one on because you got plenty of room to try to get the machine back under control. Now a beautiful piece of equipment. Brand new machine for this year. Casey Laurie out of Mount Carroll, Illinois in the 1936 pickup called Strategic Attack chromoly chassis. Built by himself and Brian Chapman of Four States Performance. 706 cubic inch VZ power plant. Big block Chevrolet. Decent pass, but you could tell by the speed he carried out the top end, it just wasn't there for him. A 263 with a 5, and I guarantee you he'd like that run back. We'll see. He'll be faster in Session 2, almost guaranteed. This is a very, very competitive machine, and look for it in the 2026 season to maybe jump up here and start upsetting some of the top brass in both the Outlaw Pro Stock and this Modified Cuts Class division. Look at him bouncing down through that shutdown area. It is a rough ride when you get out off the loam. There is an elevation change there as that loam is about 6 to 7 inches deep. And again, there's a couple holes out there, but here's a look at the leaderboard right now. Keith Mitchell still standing on top with that 239 with an 8. Wayne Bonacker moves up over Justin George, 251 to a 253. The 260 for Robert Gallagher was good enough for 4th, and Caleb Dunsavage rounds out the top 5 as we put another groom on the track. We're going to retill the loam. We're going to reset these guys when we come back. As the sun starts to set, we're going to close things up with session number 2 and wrap up round 4. Stay with us.
world-famous C60 Cyclops, the infamous Dodge Carryall Unnamed and Untamed. Get yourself a one-of-a-kind toy of a Mudbogger Trim Monster Truck at freedomracingnt.com.
Welcome back to Cook Station, Missouri. Ready for Session 2. Casey Lawyer out of Mount Carroll, Illinois. He finished up Session 1, so he will lead off Session 2. Gets a fresh groom. After running on a used-up left lane, he gets a fresh right lane, and we'll see how this lane is holding up. They've put a little bit more water on the track. It's cooling off a bit here as he purges that nitrous system. Temperature should help out quite a bit in making horsepower down here. We'll see if he can speed things up. Ran a 2.6 in the first session. A little bounce off the starting line, a little bounce going into shutdown. A better run, though, 2:59. Still not what he was looking for, but he certainly sped up on that pass. Lawyer showing us the track. Looks like it's going to hold together. We watch again. These machines move around a lot more than it may appear from the side. You see them actually shimmy and shake a little bit coming off the line, and then watch the rear end pick up going into shutdown. Coming completely off the ground. He got up on the front tires. You ever wondered why these guys need four-wheel drive even when they carry the front end? You definitely want that four-wheel drive to keep that machine pulling forward as quick as those front tires spin. If you get in trouble, as long as you're able to lay on that hammer and get that front end back down, you can usually pull the vehicle straight. Here comes Chris Moses back to the line, who red lit in Session 1, lining up against that beautiful orange machine right there from right here in the state of Missouri, Wayne Bonacker. And there you see Chris Bonacker, who normally runs in this class. He ran in the open class earlier today on the paddle tires. He was trying to get a tune on that machine for another competition now, and we'll see. Wayne trying to get this machine woed. I mentioned he had some wild rides here last night. You saw in Session 1, he took a little bit of a wild ride coming out of the left lane. Chris Moses trying to get a clean run now and actually get a time on the track. We'll see. And Moses red lights again. Wayne goes bouncing into the shutdown area, but a 2:47 with a 3 for Wayne Bonacker. Out of Missouri. Watch it again as he comes off the line. Moses left way too early, trying to get that hole shot money. Don't know if it's worth it here this afternoon. It bit, though. Moses is running pretty quick. That machine seems like it's definitely making horsepower and sticking to the track. And again, look at Wayne up on 3 tires going into shutdown there. Now, as Caleb Dunsavage rolls out loose cannon, had a decent run. Liking to get that front end back down a little bit more and use all the horsepower that bright orange Chevy S10 can make. And Robert Gallagher, again, record-capable machine, very daring driver. First time we saw him was at the wheel of Black Mamba. Front-engine machine, still has that chassis, and it had this power plant in it. Then we saw him swap this power plant into his bog truck, the Rabbit Hunter, and go through a hill and hole pit down in Lee County. He swapped this engine out after Massey and Tomlin, who you see there getting him set up on the starting line, blew this motor up down there at the Lee County Mud Motorsports Complex, and Gallagher set in motion this joint team effort between the Pennsylvanian and the West Virginians. Let's see if it works for him. Dunsavage still having trouble in that machine. Gallagher, the rear end stepping out on him as he got into shutdown there. 251, not going to bypass Mitchell, so Mitchell will remain on top. 270 for Dunsavage in the far lane. Watch again. It still looks like they're blowing the tires off a lot on this starting line. It's not as dry as it was, but I don't know if they can get the pack they need to get the bite. You don't want that surface too hard, but you don't want it too loose, or you're just grabbing clumps of loose soil and throwing them behind you. But look at him get a hold of the track about halfway down, and the vehicle started moving around the town. We're going to have to bring the end zone camera back for 2026 because that really tells the tale of these runs when you can see that straight-on shot and how far back and forth across these lanes those guys really move. Now, a guy we didn't think we were going to see in this class here today, Rick George, he's coming out just to put a tune on this truck right now, trying to get it ready to go after the Outlaw Pro Stock Championship. When we get to Lyons, Indiana, he's sitting in position to claim that victory, but we'll see what he does here. He's definitely going to put his best foot forward as he lines up next to David French, who we told you about earlier in repercussion, the big block Ford power plant. Rick George, 800-plus cubic inch engine in the front of this custom-built 37 pickup, racing in the dirt-built machine. And, of course, we mentioned earlier, Rick won the 2023 Modified Paddle Class Championship with the rear engine rail that Justin George, Shoot the Thrill, is driving here tonight. So, looking at a very capable driver. Again, this is a capable machine. This is a machine I expect to see win this class in the near future. Bouncing into shutdown, but clean. What a blistering run for Rick George. French runs a 267. Look at that. George runs a 238 with a 7 to take the #1 spot. And now Keith Mitchell is going to have to work even harder to hang on to #1, both on the leaderboard and in the points championship, because Justin George is still to come. Look at that. What a run. Goes to the left side of the lane, but a great pass for Rick George in Shoot to Thrill, and really not as much bouncing as it originally looked going into shutdown, but you saw the rear end buffeting when he came out. They're putting a quick groom on the track right now as we're halfway through. Rick George leads the field right now at a 238 with a 7, but look how close Keith Mitchell has been. Mitchell ran the same lane that Rick George did, though. Mitchell now has to go to the left-hand side. Wayne Bonnaker, Robert Gallagher, and Justin George, speaking of Justin George, rounds out the top 5. But in the lane that his father just ran in Smokin' Gun, he is now going to take a shot in the Racing in the Dirt built rear engine rail that debuted in 2023 down in Panama City, Florida. And Jason Chaya, championship-capable vehicle there with the Racing in the Dirt touches on it. See if he can straighten things out here this evening. Big-time problems on the run for both of those machines. Chaya, a 259 and a 267 for Justin George. So Keith Mitchell will, at the very least, hold off Justin George in the points. I can guarantee you that right now, because the absolute worst Mitchell can do right now would be a 3rd place, and that's if Daniel Kerher can get past him. But that remains to be seen. Kerher has been having, as I mentioned, fuel issues. He's been having some minor control issues with the vehicle. Come off the line and it'll pitch on him. He'll back out of the throttle just for a moment and it'll load up with fuel. And then when it pours the nitrous to it, it reignites when he gets back on the throttle. And with those cylinders loaded up, it'll belch a big flame out through either the intake or the headers. And then that's when you'll see that big orange puff come out of the machine and he'll roll to a stop mid-track, or he'll take a very slow pass through the timing lights. But right now, the story is in the far lane. Keith Mitchell in the Mudgician trying to get past Rick George. Mitchell completing the final pass here in Cook Station for 2025, and it looked like he blew the tires off on the line. 245, not gonna do it. Rick George in Smokin' Gun will take the win here today in Cook Station, Missouri, and he was not even going to run. Watch again, you can see it right there. Mitchell blowing the tires off on the starting line. He comes over to the right-hand side, the inside of that top lane there. Watch it one more time. Kerher very clearly had problems on the run. He was coming around toward the wall. He had to back out of it, and then you see him starting to belch bigger and bigger flames. But there you see Mitchell just not able to get that power to the track the way he normally is. He's going to be disappointed with that, but he did stave off the challenge from Justin George with that Session 1 pass. You can see he's hanging right in there, and George finished in the number 5 spot. So it's a good hold-off right now. Mitchell has a good shot to win this championship going into the final event in Indiana. Rick George is standing by in the pits right now. Rick George right around 100th of a second on that last pass and got you through.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to run modified tonight and just was needing some testing going into the finals for Outlaw Pro Stock, and we run it and it worked for us.
Man, a few words, but got the job done here tonight. There you see Keith Mitchell holding off Justin George, trying to expand that point. Lead Rick George in the number 3 spot. He's going to go after number 2, his own kin, Wayne Bonneker and Robert Gallagher. Now hanging in there in the number 5 spot. It has been a great weekend here in Cook Station. The next time we see you will be the finale. Lyons, Indiana, Wagler Motorsports Park. You are not going to want to miss that action. It's sure to get wild. We will see you then.